You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is the place where you're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
Well, how y'all doing? Another great week in Burlesonville, or whatever we call it these days. No, it's another great week coming up. We're going to have a good show today. We're going to talk about the RISE conference coming up on October 8th with Sara, Nicole, Tynan, and she's very enthusiastic about it. We had to hose her down earlier. Hang on there, So she's very excited about this, all this. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about mental health issues in general and, what inspired her to put this together and where she's getting help from. I believe our friends at Reach Council are very important in this, whom we met last Thursday. It's a lot going on, and I've heard several notices about it, not just on Facebook, but also in just conversation, which is a good thing, and word of mouth, And we'll talk about how you, as a participant, can get involved and what you can expect to happen, and also what you're looking for, because they have multiple things that they're offering, not just one speaker and all this other stuff. And we'll go all over all of that, and I'll have to really pull the information out of Sara because she's very shy and she's very, reticent. And so we're going to have to, gig her a bit to speak. Is that right?
Oh, the sarcasm. I love it.
She's very enthusiastic. It's like, a cheerleader almost. So we'll see. But before we jump into all that, let's go ahead and thank the sponsors that make this kind of information possible for y'all. Thank you to CrossFit Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. We hope that you're doing well, Daniel and the whole crew. We appreciate all the stuff you do for the community as well, because Daniel and his family are very involved in a lot of community things other than just workout facilities or whatever. So it's 317 Southwest Wilshire, and has all the gym equipment you need, and the trainers and the supervision and the programs, and it's a great workout. Thank you to Shandy. I'll have Shandy on a week from Thursday. We're going to have her talk about real estate and also what's happening with the rates, at the interest rate markets, because it definitely affects the values of the homes and the ability to sell them and whatnot. But if you're looking to buy in this area or sell in this area, talk to Shandy, because she knows how to maneuver through this very confusing market. It's, you read that their values are dropping, but they don't seem to be here. So you need to get on the inside floor. So Shandy can help you with all that. And she and her crew there. Thank you to Otto at our place. I'll see you Thursday. We have our bi-weekly Sunday school men's breakfast at 6:30. I try to tell these guys, they have breakfast all day long. We don't have to get up early, but unfortunately, they all have jobs. Anyway, Our Place Restaurant is a great place, and Otto's a genuinely decent man, and he does a lot of good things for the community, and he's very supportive of what you're accomplishing here. Also, thank you to Wild Cigar and Culture, another supportive business in this community. I've known Chris for a long time, and it's a great place to do business. It's a great place to have a cigar, have a drink, relax. The ball game will be on tonight for the Cowboys if you're going to watch the Cowboy game. And it's not like a sports bar, but it's a good place you can sit there and a little bit of sanity and watch a ball game with a drink and whatnot. So over at the Standard, you want to go over there and meet Chris and his tobacconist. It's a hard word to say. Anyway, thank you to Local Life. I saw Tiffany just a couple of weeks ago. She's a big Cowboy fan, so I know what she's doing tonight. Local Life TX is up right now with all the deals going on, and Local Life Magazine. Are you in this? Are you sponsored in this? Not sponsored, but are you listed in the community events?
I'm not sure when the next one comes out, if we're going to be in that free event calendar.
Well, it'll come out right before the 8th. It's going to be the week of the 1st.
Oh, right. It comes out.
Yeah, well, see, this Saturday's the 1st, so it'll come out the week, probably Monday or Tuesday of next week. So talk to Tiffany and see if you can get in there, or a couple of her assistants there. They can help you get in the free section she always puts out as a community service.
Perfect.
All right, Local Life Magazine, like I said, will be out next week, and I'm not sure the topic just yet, but there you are. That's always interesting. Always nice articles and uplifting articles. It's a very uplifting publication. Also, we have our friends at Southern Gym, Gala. She's expanding. Is Seth taking you here yet?
Not yet.
Well, he needs to get with the program. Yeah, or maybe Dad. Give his little girl something. For Christmas. But Christmas is what, 3 months away? What's the day? The 26th. So it's less than 3 months away. And so, if you're looking to buy that special loved one something, man or woman, Southern Gym can help you with that. And or if you get like grandma's ring as a gift and you want to repair it or resize it, you could do that. Or if you need it cleaned, if you need it redesigned, the whole thing. She's a full-on jewelry service, not just a retailer. So she has the whole thing working. So it's on the top floor of the Windmiller building, and give her a holler. My wife will be working there more often in about a week once she leaves Centennial High School. So also, thank you to Michelle. I hope your poker tournament went well. Hotworks sponsored a poker tournament to help fight pediatric cancer. And she raised a few bucks, and she had a good time. I just texted her before the show, and she said it went fine. And I asked her if she's going to do it again. She says, let me get past this one, because you know what it's like.
I know exactly how that feels.
But Hotworks is great. Do you do Hotworks in and out?
No, and I have been dying to get over there because I actually have some students, some of my yoga students who go there when, they can't make it to a class. They're like, it's a great, because it's quick and you get your sweat on. So
give it a shot.
Need to get over there soon.
Yeah, you should, because it's right in your line of, physical fitness and whatnot. And she has an infrared yoga program. She has 11 different programs. So it depends on what your preference is. Also, thank you to Melissa. She's going to be spending a whole week in the beautiful city of Waco, so I'm sure she's very excited about that for a Texas Farm Bureau thing. But anyway, Melissa Harmon's my new agent at 682-804-0534. She will help save you some money, and if she can't, she'll tell you. If you have insurance already and you give her a chance to look at it, and she comes back to you, she'll tell you if she can't do better than that. So you can help find out just where you stand on your insurance. And that is not something you think about very often until you need it. So check that out. Also, we have Danette Juster, interior design at Pinnacle Concepts. I'll have her on Thursday. We're going to talk about her move from Colorado and how she's starting this or restarting it, I guess, because she did this in Colorado. And her number is 303-324-9906. So if you're looking to maybe redesign your home or your business, she also does a little commercial real estate on the side. So, but as far as her designing your business or home, she has very good taste. I think she's got some real talent. She's going to hopefully, I've got to remind her, but she's going to bring some photos of her work. I think that's, we always had a lot of nonprofits that we were advertising events. I think we're pretty much on that. But now we talk about this one, the RISE conference. That's a new one. We found that one. Do you use that one?
That was when this first started. I designed this one based off of a sunrise. I was thinking it was very sunrise colors. And then I met with one of the people who are speaking. At the time, she was not a speaker. We met to talk about the conference. And she was like, yeah, your women's conference. And I said, wait, I never said women's conference.
Yeah.
And so I went and took a hard look at my branding, and I was like, okay, what can I do to make this less feminine? So which I can send the current one, but it's more, we have turquoise in there. Yes.
Yeah, we have them both.
Yeah. So I was like, what can I do to make this feel more welcoming for men as well? Because it's not just women who struggle with their mental health.
Oh, that's absolutely true. And we're going to probably talk about some of those things as well, but it's coming up. It's a week from Saturday, October 8th.
Gosh.
Yeah, I know.
Woo!
Yeah, she's excited already. See, what did I tell you? I'm going to hose this girl down.
Yeah.
Anyway, October 8th, 9 to 3 at Pathway. They have a really nice venue over there. I went to Tiffany's wedding over
Beautiful.
there and just like, wow.
Yeah.
Not that I'm
really
going to, I like my church, I'm going to stay with it, but it's not a bad place to have these things. Also, First Baptist does a lot of these kind of things as well, and that's where I go. So those two are we don't have a place in town other than those two venues.
Yeah, we have, what's the one venue? Concerts have been done there. Is it still around? 151? Is that what it's called?
Venue. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Is that still around?
No.
Okay.
The BISD bought that, and they put the gaming school there.
Okay.
Yeah, you're thinking of venue, I forget the numbers, but yeah, it used to be off of Wilshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well, when this all started, I was like, where are we going to have it? And I had written down like the brick. That was an option. And then when this first started, it was just going to be a vendor fair. It was going to be a health and wellness event when this all began in my mind. And I went to Pathway and I was like, this place would be so perfect. I can visualize everything happening here. And they're like, great, come on, it's yours.
You said your friend Tish Ross helped you with
I
that.
met with Tish because she's she's a friend of mine. I don't even know how we got connected. Probably my parents who attend Pathway, and she's just been there I reached out to her and I was like, hey, what do you think? How would this look like? Because I don't have any money. Like this is a ministry. This
Right.
just started. And she was like, well, why don't you use Pathway? We'll make it work. And so she got me connected with the right people, and Pathway is going to host us. And Pathway is not affiliated with this conference by any means, but they have been very helpful in the planning of this.
Well, I'm sure Pathway is very supportive of mental health. I mean, but it's not a church-based thing.
This is not. This is a secular event. It just happens to be located at a church. A couple of our speakers may happen to mention Jesus. One of the biggest tools, or one of the biggest reasons we're having Rise, is to provide tools. And I don't mean like a hammer and a wrench. I mean things like therapy, things like, for me, it was, one of the things was yoga. For some people, one of their tools for their mental health was their faith. So yes, faith may be discussed, but this is not it's not a Christian conference. It's not a women's conference. It's something for everyone.
Well, it's like a lot of things. Like, I've talked about going to Promises for counseling, and Promises, isn't a church-related atmosphere, and the people there are people of faith, but you're getting secular counseling. And if you want to talk about the spiritual, they're fine. They're
You
great.
have the choice.
Yeah, absolutely. But but they're not going to say, well, the reason you feel bad is because you sinned. No, if they think it's a clinical thing, they'll direct you towards professional medical help,
Right.
or if it's, if you want to talk about, other things, the Promises will talk about it, and this is similar.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, I don't know, because of the setting, kind of confuse the two. Because I'll talk about my generation, particularly my background. I grew up Baptist, and I grew up in a believing home and whatever else. And a lot of times we confused mental health with spiritual health. And so we think, well, if I'm depressed, I'm not doing my walk with the Lord right. Or if I have these moments of anxiety that I just don't have faith enough or not trusting enough.
Not true.
And that's really not what's happening, because the body does react to chemical changes, certainly, and all these other issues. And so there is a division between mental and spiritual. Now, the spiritual may help you with the mental, but it's not a spiritual cause. It may be giving you anxiety.
The spiritual stuff is what I like to refer to as an optional tool. It's your choice.
Well, and also the fact is that, if you are having like a spiritual problem, it may manifest itself as mental problems, but you have to treat them as mental problems.
Right.
All right.
Right.
You can't just say, well, the reason why you're so tense is you sinned. No, all that would do is add to the guilt and add to the I don't know, make the problem worse.
Right.
So, and this is what Pathway is providing for y'all at Rise, is just a safe
place.
environment, to do this. And if
Exactly.
you want to, embrace some of the more spiritual aspects of this, you're in a safe place to do it.
Yep. And you'll meet people all along the way. Like some of our speakers, maybe you hear one of the speakers say something that really resonates with you. Well, you're going to have an opportunity to meet that speaker, and you can ask them, okay, how you touched on something that I want to know more about. How can I find out more about that?
Well, I know one of my former students and one of my colleagues of my wife at Centennial, Laura Miller, will be
Yeah,
there.
she's going to be doing the Enneagram breakout session.
Yes, and I know Laura well. I've known her for years, and I know her to be a strong woman of faith.
Yep.
And I believe there's a couple more that I may know by name.
Well, why don't we just run down them?
Let's
run
the
down.
list.
We've got so Dr. Crystal Collier, Rachel Henning, Dr. Tina Bernard, Chad Benson.
Tina Bernard. Yeah.
She's another local.
Yes, I know.
So she wrote her book this year.
Oh, really? I did not know that.
Because yes. And so she's going to be talking all about, how great things could possibly be and what happens when you say yes. And her story is very relatable for me, but I loved her book.
I don't know if we've ever met, but I know the name's familiar in this area.
Yeah, she's very involved with local, with a lot. She does a lot with the Joshua Chamber of Commerce, and she's done a lot. I think she grew up here. I know her children have grown up here. So yeah, Tina Bernard's going to be talking. Chad Benson, who is the pastor of the church that I attend, Lifegate, and that's also where Laura Miller goes.
Now, Chad Benson, what topic is he speaking on?
Confidence.
Okay.
Walking in confidence.
it's going to be very difficult for him to divide the spiritual.
And he was very
mental.
vocal about that. I said, Chad, you do that. You talk about what matters to you, which, we're going into this knowing he's a pastor, and people are going to see, okay, you've got Chad Benson, who is a pastor. He's speaking at whatever time he's speaking at. And if they don't want to sit in the room and listen to a pastor, they're welcome to attend a breakout session or go out in the crossing where all of our vendors are going to be.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he is going to talk on general confidence, but he is not going to shy away from Jesus.
Right. And it's not a captive audience. It isn't like, okay, you're going to sit through all these lectures. You get to choose what you want to.
You get to spend the day how you want to spend it. And that's the beauty of this conference is we have so many options.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whom else do you have?
So after Chad, then we've got Lisa Boltinghouse, who runs Center for ASD.
She mentioned that
talking
Thursday.
about bravery.
Well,
Brave Enough is the name of her. Yeah.
Well, she just mentioned that Thursday.
Yeah.
And she's looking forward to it. And you got the right speaker because she
I think if we had a whole day, or if this was a multi-day conference, Lisa could take a whole day to speak.
easily.
Yep. No, I believe it.
She's very good at
She's got a lot to say.
promoting the things that are important to her.
Exactly. And she's got experience in this field. And she was one of the ones I met with before this was actually like a concept, before this conference had actually like blossomed. And she was very inspiring of how this conference was going to like unfold. And I could listen to her talk forever. And it was just, we had an excess of speakers. So it was like, all right, Lisa, you're going to be on the stage for this amount of time. And same with all of our other speakers. So it is a one-day event. If this were to happen again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows what the future holds. It would be very hard to do this event in a one-day setting. There are so many things we're not going to be able to cover the day of.
Well, this is good, though. A one-day thing will get you some experience in putting this together. If you were trying to do it all at once the first time, it might not be as effective. But now, and also, if this becomes a routine, expected event every early October, something like that, you can do Friday and Saturday.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, cross a couple of nights even. Who knows? Y'all can figure that out.
This could really turn into something even bigger than I ever expected. It already has turned into something bigger.
Are you friends with Jamie Lehman?
Yeah, she is our MC.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
She's going to be helping me on stage, bringing all of our speakers up.
Yes. Well, see, I
love her.
I always refer to my former students, the ladies, by their maiden names.
Right.
So, okay, I got to remember, no, that's not their name anymore. Like I keep calling Megan Swearingen of Next Step. I keep calling her Megan Hollowell. And it's like, no, that's not her name, dadgummit. She's a married woman. And so,
but they know who you're talking about.
Yeah, they do. And, and they don't mind. They don't get offended by any means. It's just an old man thing. But the Lemons, of course, have been well known here in the Burleson area. And I thought Jamie was involved in some manner, either running a session, but she's going to be up there
hosting. Helping me bring people on stage. Yeah.
You picked the right person for that.
I know, right? It worked out so good.
Yeah, because I don't think she has an ounce of reticence in her about these kind of things. She's always been like that. And when I had her on the show about 3 months ago for that ladies travel, and I'll probably do that again.
Yeah, women of the world.
Yeah, I really enjoyed
women exploring the world.
Women exploring the world. And it's like, she was like you, just having the both of you all on stage on the same time. That's going to be a lot of pep on that stage.
Yeah, we're going to need to bring it down a notch.
Yeah, well, yeah.
She does. She reminds me of me. Talks a lot and fast.
Yeah. Well, so you got all these speakers, but they're not all, it isn't like you're going to be sitting in one room and they're going to go bam, 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 bam. You're going to have
we're going to be breaking it
around.
apart with a couple things like giveaways. We'll have some raffle items and, lunch.
What are y'all giving away?
There's going to be a variety of things. So one thing that I'm excited about is from where I work at C3 Cryo Club. It's a VIP package where you come in, you sit in our sauna for 30 minutes, you get sweaty, and then you sit in the Normatec, which is compression for 30 minutes. It's just kind of like a massage. And then you go into cryotherapy for 3 minutes, which is cold. If you didn't know what cryo means, it means cold. And so we're giving away a VIP package to that. We'll have some hydro jugs. I'm going to give away my book with those hydro jugs. And for some of our parents that are attending, my mom found these really cool books. It's like a children's book, but the kids don't realize what it's doing is teaching them about positive mental well-being. So we've got some of those, a couple like fidget toys.
Do you need more stuff to give away?
I wouldn't say need. I have been blown away with how much has come up.
You'd accept it, though.
I would never turn away something that would make someone's day.
Yeah, but as far as but you've had a lot of responses.
We've had a lot of giveaways come up that have worked out really well. Well, I think they will.
Well, no, I'm quite confident this will be beyond your expectations how well it succeeds, because not only you seem to have it pretty well and organized and thought out, you have Reach behind you and all that.
Oh, Reach has been incredible.
Yeah, we'll talk. I'd like to ask you a couple of questions about them in a minute. But as far as it seems like you have it all put together, and now it's time for the execution, which will be.
I'm ready for it.
I think it'll happen. But it definitely is a need. So we were talking about this on the last show. We said, what brought you to this point to want to do this kind of thing?
So I've struggled with my mental health my whole life. Since I was a child, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and insomnia. I've struggled with anxiety here and there, just not clinically diagnosed, but who cares? It's my struggle. And when I turned 21, I hit rock bottom, tried to take my life, and landed in a mental institution and came home and said, this is my life. No, I'm not okay with this. What do I need to do to feel different? I don't want to rely on medication for the rest of my life. I don't want to be in therapy for the rest of my life. What can I do to make a change? And, I prayed to God, and I felt like he put the right people and tools in my life at that time. And I worked with a doctor very closely to get off of medication, to find all of these things that I could do to maintain a neutral mental health. And so I got off medication. That was, I'm 31, so that was 10 years ago. And I felt really, really good about my mental health. And I wrote a book about it last year, just about my life. And this year I kind of heard this nudge to say, okay, you wrote the book, and that did help some people. It definitely brought some people peace and hope, but there's a lot more people that need to be touched by the fact that they can receive healing. And I was like, well, what the heck does that mean? And I was like, okay, I'll take all of the things that I did to get healthy, to feel good, and I'll bring it to the community. So like a local health fair. And then I kept hearing God say, like, go bigger, go bigger. And so I was like, okay, let's do this thing. It's going to be a conference. And I had a bunch of people in my circle who were like, pick me, I want to help. And so it just kind of came together, like one thing after another. And then Reach got involved, and they were like, we want to do the same thing. Can we do this together? And so we're partnering together, Reach across Johnson County, which is this group that they do substance abuse prevention as well as mental health help. They provide people with resources. And so the two of us, we've just kind of like put our heads together and come up with all these ways, very intentional things to make this conference happen. And it is happening.
Yes, it sounds like
the whole way, I'm like, is this really happening? Like when Pathway said, you can use our space, I was like, oh, so this is actually going to happen. This isn't just like a little pipe dream that I wrote in my journal and like tossed away and never accomplished. It's actually happening.
How did you get these speakers?
A lot of them, and at one point I even had more speakers. Things have happened since then, but it's all just people that I knew. And then Reach has brought on Dr. Collier and Rachel, because those are their contacts that they had, that they were like, these people have a lot to say about mental health. Let's have them be a part of this. So the breakout sessions and then some of the other sanctuary sessions were just friends of mine.
Well, my bet is, and I stand by that statement, I think it's going to go on for more than just this one event. You'll probably do this routinely. You're going to probably be turning speakers away.
And I already have done that with this. We had people that came, were like, hey, I want to be involved. What can I do? I was like, well, I don't need any more speakers. I've got, in fact, like we're having to cut speakers' times shorter than we would like to because there's so many of them. So that you need a second day. I do. If this happens again, it needs to happen in a more drawn out way.
Quit saying if.
It's just been mind blowing, all of the things that have had to happen to make it happen, but it's really happening.
Well, I know that the worst time to ask anybody who puts these things on is right before or right after. Like Michelle and her little poker tournament. I said, "You can do this again?" And she's like, "Don't talk to me."
Exactly.
But I bet what's going to happen with her is that when she's recovered, that she'll want to do something, and same with you.
Yep.
And you'll be so jazzed up Saturday afternoon around 3:30. Say, let's do this again next week.
Yeah.
So
it's been funny. I've had to turn away. I teach yoga and I do sound therapy, and I've had to turn away a lot of requests for gigs. People have asked me like, oh, will you come on and teach yoga to this group, or will you do a sound bath for this group? And I'm like, I can't. My plate is full. So I'm looking forward
once this is done, though, you'll have more time for that kind of thing. Oh, good.
And the kids.
And the kids. Yes, you get two of them, right?
Oh, and there's so much. Yes, they're a lot, and I love them so much.
Oh, really? Oh, boy. Anyway, I'm sure that's taken some time away from them and
a lot,
your husband. Yes. I'm sure your husband's been a very good sport about all this.
Oh, my gosh. What would I do without him?
Yeah. How long y'all been married?
6 years in November.
Just one smooth ride, right?
Oh my gosh. It was like the second we got married, like life just came at us. It has been bumpy.
Well, yeah.
And this
A
year
lot of
has
people say
been the bumpiest, which is ironic. You know, leading up to this conference, it's just been.
Well, it's amazing how these little obstacles kind of pop up right before some big event when something good is about to happen, isn't it? You
I know when I step on that stage, though, I am going to feel so strong after everything that happened this year.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel a great sense of accomplishment. You know, you're going to feel like you really did something important. And you want that's why when you keep saying, if we do this again, I'm thinking, wait till you get that jazz feeling afterwards, because it's addictive.
Yeah.
In a good sense.
Right.
You know.
Helping people. Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you about your treatment?
Not at all. No,
Okay, when you were 21.
Yeah. Yep.
You said you went to a clinic.
Yep. I went to a behavioral center. I don't think they're open anymore. It was called Sundance something.
I don't know.
But yeah, I went there and I wasn't there for long because hearing other people's issues made me feel like, okay, I really don't have a lot going on in my life. It was women who are older and who had a lot of drama. And I'll be honest, like I had a really good life. I just happened to have a chemical imbalance in my brain that caused me to feel a certain way. And I was on medication from the time I was 11 up until about 21. And when I went away to college, I started consuming alcohol. You're not supposed to do that with medication.
That doesn't work, no.
It does the opposite effect. And so for years, I had been numb to all this stuff because of the medication. And then when I started mixing alcohol with that medication, all of the numbness went away and I started to feel everything and then some. And I didn't want to feel it.
Where did you go to school?
Tarleton. Great school. It had nothing to do with the school, and it was all about me. It was all about my struggles and the mistakes that I was making that landed me in that pit. And that pit was very essential to my healing journey. It happened so that, which that's the name of my book, it happened so that I could realize, like, this is not the life I was created for. And God turned it all around, because after I went into that behavioral institution, I was like, this is not me. This is not who I want to be. I went home. My parents had just moved to Burleson. And, had they just moved to Burleson? Yeah, they had just moved to Burleson.
From where?
Grapevine, Colleyville area. Grew up in the Grapevine area, went to Colleyville Heritage High School. And they moved to Burleson to do the country thing, which is very ironic because right after we got here, Burleson was no longer the country.
Right.
And so I went home to them, and my dad was like, hey, Sara, I haven't seen you move a lot. You've been hanging out in your bed. You've been hanging out on the couch. Why don't we get you a membership to the Brick? And so he took me to the gym every day, and he was like, you need to move your body. And I got a bracelet that says movement. And it's a reminder that when I move my body, I don't feel stuck in my mental struggles. I don't know that I answered your question at all.
Well, you're doing fine. But you grew up in a Christian home, right?
Yes.
And so I think that's another thing that can also cover up some real issues that need to be addressed, because you grew up in a Christian home like I did. That doesn't mean you're going to be exempt from these kind of problems that you're talking about.
Nope.
Now, and when you're younger in particular, you grow up in church, attend Sunday school, all the above.
Right.
You start thinking, there's something wrong with me because of me, not because maybe there's something going on in my head or my body that needs to be addressed.
Right.
And that's a really tough thing. I taught, school all those years.
Right.
And mental health issues with teenagers is a real thing. I mean, it's not just, it's adolescence, they'll grow out of it.
Well, puberty doesn't help.
Yeah.
The body starts doing this stuff, and it makes your brain process things in a certain way.
Right.
And that's when I think mental health starts to trip people up. And if you're not prepared with those tools, then it can become more than just puberty. It can become, oh my gosh, now my daughter is diagnosed with a disorder and I don't know how to handle it. And it's more than just puberty.
And how did your parents come to the conclusion that you needed more than just, a good talking to, and you needed serious counseling and help? How did they come to that conclusion?
My dad had found a poem that I wrote about taking my life. This was middle school. I had wrote about, I was having night terrors. I wasn't sleeping because I was, having these awful visions at night. And I wrote about taking my life and some of the things that I had been seeing at nighttime. And my dad found it and was like, okay, well, we got to do something because she is not okay. I had been hurting myself. My dad found a pair of scissors that I had stashed in my nightstand. That was kind of what I did when I was upset about things, was I would hurt myself. And so he found all of this stuff in my room one day and was like, this this has to end. And so he was like, what do we do? Let's get her into therapy. And that's when I met Gail, who changed my life. I was with her from the time I was 11 till I was 21. And I was with her. She was the therapist. And then I also got into other doctors who had diagnosed and prescribed. Mm-hmm. And so my parents did the best with what they had, which at the time was really just therapy. And then it progressed later on, when I hit that rock bottom at age 21, that's when my dad was like, this is so much more than therapy. She needs movement. She needs health and wellness. She needs to take her vitamins. She needs to be no more caffeine, no more alcohol. She needs to really, do all of these things that are going to help her. And I think it's because of my parents that I rose up out of that pit.
Yeah, not everybody has parents like that.
Exactly.
And that's hopefully this conference will provide some outlets for some people who may not have that kind of support system.
Right.
But as far as like teenagers in particular, the real problem also is these problems could be magnified because of bullying.
And that's where it started for me.
Yeah, well, and we talked before the show, and I'll let you tell them as much as you want to say, but it was an issue.
Yep.
And honestly, I sit here on this side of the table and said, who in the world would bully this kid? I mean, she's so sweet.
I don't know. I'm kind of a weirdo sometimes.
No, I'm just saying that's just wrong. I mean, she's such a sweetheart. How can anybody pick on you? But that happens, and and BISD went through and still has a real emphasis on anti-bullying, but it doesn't mean it goes away.
Yeah, and it hasn't always been that way. There hasn't always been this awareness. And like I said, my parents didn't know a lot of stuff because I kept it all hush hush. I wrote about it in my diary, and they found out. Okay, not only is she cutting herself, thinking about killing herself, but she's being picked on at school, and we know nothing about it.
Right.
And she's being picked on by these people that we thought were friends, people that we had over to the house. I would always have pool parties.
These friends thinking they were just being funny?
Yes. It was probably what they thought was completely innocent, but what they didn't know is I was going home every night and thinking about ending my life because it was so bad. It started off as like light joking. Ended up, they shoved me into a locker, spit on me, poured water.
Spit on you? Why? That's not joking.
It was middle school, yeah.
Yeah, it's not funny.
And it was all boys that were doing the bullying, and it was a group of them who just kind of like fed off of each other. Oh, we think it's funny if we pour this water bottle on her head because she's wearing a flower in her ponytail. And what they didn't know is it took me so much courage that day to wear the flower in my head, and because I thought it was pretty, but I was nervous because it wasn't my thing. And anyway, it was just an excess of negative things being physically and mentally pummeled at me when I already felt down about myself. So it was kind of like the cherry on top of my puberty, my mental struggles, and all of these things. The bullying is what took me to the point of I don't want to live anymore. I don't want to go to school anymore. I don't want to live.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. These kids are now young men. Have they ever acknowledged this?
No, and I've thought about reaching out and been like, hey, do you realize what an impact you had on me? Which it obviously worked out because now I've got a voice about it. And I know, a couple of them I've seen on Facebook, they've got families of their own, and I don't want to remind them of the awfulness that they did to me. Mm-hmm. It did make me stronger, and it did add to my story and give me something that I can be passionate about. But I do think that if there's someone out there and you're treating someone a certain way that is not lifting them up, you need to cut it out because you don't know what the ramifications could be.
Fortunately, I have a wife that's always trying to encourage me, edify. Sometimes, and I've crossed the line sometimes as a teacher. I thought I was being funny, and I said something that maybe to most people would be, haha, it's funny, move on. Mm-hmm. But it hit too hard on this one particular kid, too close to the bone, and I had to go back and try to clean that up, and it's embarrassing.
And everyone does that, though.
Well, I know, but I'm the adult in the room, and if I'm like teasing some kid, and and most of the time they just laugh at it, move on, and just shrug it off. But sometimes it was the wrong thing said at the wrong time to the wrong person, even if it was just seemingly innocent, but it just really cut too close to the bone on that particular one. And there's been 2-3 times I had to go back and try to clean that mess up because
I think that's where mindfulness plays a role. And I'm a mindfulness coach, and that's something I don't pursue clients or anything. But one thing I learned about my training was when you're aware of what you say to people, you're aware of how it affects them. And so there's this theory that I've been working on, and it's like the ripple, which our logo, it's a rainbow, but if you look at the rainbow closely, it almost looks like a ripple. And so sometimes when you say a word or a handful of words, it's like tossing a stone into a pond. And all of those ripples that go out, they affect people in a certain way, just like the bullying that these boys thought was just pure innocence. They don't realize that I was going home every night and wanting to end my life.
Right. And so, I learned as I got older just to be careful what you say about that. But even until my last year of teaching high school, I tripped up every now and then because, you'd say something 99 times, that 100th time could be the one that really triggers something.
Exactly.
And the other 99 times it was funny, or it was joking around with a peer or a student. But it's really tough to know. And the damage could be pretty lasting, as you obviously laid out there. I don't know if it'd be really a great idea to confront these young men anymore because, if God doesn't put that on their heart to do that, then I don't know how they'd respond to you saying, hey, you treated me poorly in high school.
And I don't hold I don't hold anything over their head. I published my book last year because I do believe what I said in my book was that it happened so that something else could happen. And I'm not angry about it. I have no regrets in my life. And I think my parents handled everything perfectly. And I believe everything happens so that something else greater can happen.
Now, your dad owns a business here in town, right?
Yep. Castrol Premium Lube Express.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Sure.
It's on
John Jones.
Yes.
By Walmart neighborhood.
By that Walmart neighborhood. Yeah, I drive by it all the time.
Yep. And that's his ministry. That's how that's his like platform. Like when you got people coming in for their oil change, he's going to talk to them and be like, hey, how's your day going? And how can I be a positive ripple into your life?
All right. You hear that? Castor Oil and John Jones. Get your oil changed. Get your mind changed.
Yeah.
All at the same price.
Exactly. Yeah. I love it.
Is he helping sponsor some of this?
He is. He is paying he sponsored one of our food trucks, Bondi Bowls, which is going to be part of the lunch offering. So
you're going to have a couple food trucks there.
Yes. And the people who come to the conference, if you're going to a food truck, you do have to pay for your food. But my dad, Castrol, is making sure that we're going to be able to have those food trucks there. Because did you know that you actually have to pay a food truck to come out?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I'm sure they do need a fee to get out there because it's
exactly.
expensive. And
Castrol's the sponsor for that.
Isn't that nice? See, and that's the kind of thing we have in this community. We have a lot of people, my sponsors included. I'm going to put in the plug for them.
Yeah.
When I tell my sponsors I'm doing these kind of shows, they really get excited, not because they think they're going to get great views or whatever, because to be frank, some shows get more views than others, but they like having positive things put out in the community.
Things that are going to make a difference.
Like, and I'm going to plug my show one more time from Thursday. That was a great experience.
Oh my gosh. All those people in one room, I couldn't imagine.
It went even better than I thought it would.
I love it when that happens.
I didn't know if it was going to work or not. And it went better than I thought, but it was just such a positive experience for me. I hope it was for them. I bet it was, but I know it was for me.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing that we have a lot of going in this community. Do you have other sponsors for this?
So all along the way, it's been, myself, Reach. We've got Castrol Premium Lube Express. We've got Mind Over Matter. Reach has brought them on to sponsor, I think, our other food truck, Taps International. And really just all of the people that are speaking, all of our breakout sessions, we've got people that are doing this out of the kindness of their heart. So everyone that's been involved in this. And
so there's no charge for you to attend this
It's
thing.
a free event.
But what about somebody who just wants to show up? Don't you need to have some sort of
We do want to have everyone registered, which I was talking to my mom about this the other day. She said, Sarah, how many people are registered? I was like, well, at the time our number was about 90, but that doesn't mean anything because number one, people will register at the last minute.
Of course.
And number two, people will still show up the day of, which I really wish that people wouldn't do that. But I get it because I'm a go with the flow kind of person. But it is free. The thing is, we only have 350 seats.
Well, I know you won't turn anybody away.
Exactly. And so if people come and there's not room for them to sit, I'm sure someone will gladly give up their seat if they need to sit down.
So they're not. It's not like the 351st person is just out of luck.
Right. And there's also the virtual option. So, let's say we do max out at 350 and they don't want to stand. I will send them away and say, why don't you go home and get in your pajamas, which is my most comfortable outfit, and watch it at home.
So you're going to have this on live on YouTube?
Yes, it's going to be virtual. That option will be there for people we even have people that have already signed up from other states.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, that's good.
So it's more than just a local
Well,
thing.
here's what I'm thinking may happen is you may have somebody that signed up and they'll tell their friend about it and they'll just bring the friend.
Right.
And
that's fine.
That's a good thing.
And I do want to say, like, you don't have to come just because you're struggling with your mental health. Like, I have been free and clear off of medication for 10 years now, but my mental health has been struggling this year because I've had a lot of things happen within my family. And it has nothing to do with my chemical imbalance in my brain. I'm doing all the things that I should do. Life has been hard. And so it doesn't even matter that I'm diagnosed with bipolar. What matters is that I have had a lot of struggles in my life. So what I want to say to the people out there that are listening that are like, oh, I'm not diagnosed with depression or anxiety or PTSD. I don't care. You can still come to this event and get tools and help that are going to help you thrive in your life and rise above all the other challenges that you may be faced with.
Well, even if you're not diagnosed, and even if you really are in pretty sound mental shape, you're going to know somebody that needs help.
Yep.
There's nobody out there that is either it's unaffected by this, either personally or by a family member or a close friend. It's particularly COVID really triggered a whole lot of that stuff, and so, I don't know if it's just we're now talking about it more openly and recognizing it, or COVID really did do a number on us all. I don't know. It doesn't matter really what the genesis of all this is because it's a situation that exists.
Exactly. And it needs to be talked about, and people need to be comforted.
Well, there's one thing we talked about before the show. When you do it again, and you will, you ought to have a breakout session for people my age.
Yes. Yeah.
Not so much, just because we're older or whatever, but my generation didn't confront these issues like y'all's do. The millennial, Gen Z, whatever they categorize themselves as. We didn't talk about this.
Right.
Because it was seen as either spiritual weakness, like you're not following the Lord close enough, or if you didn't really grow up in that kind of environment, it was still seen as weakness of another kind.
Right.
And particularly for men. Men are very reluctant to admit that they need any kind of help of this nature at all. And so they maybe turned a bit to alcohol or something like that. I know that I've mentioned this on the show before. There was a 2 or 3 year period that I leaned too heavily on alcohol. And I got into counseling over at Promises, and they helped me figure a few things out and whatnot. And what caused all that, I mean, it was events in my life, my family's life, my professional and personal life.
Stressors. Yeah,
Major stressors. It was a dark time, and that's as much as I'll go into that. But for about a 3 year period, though, it was grim. And see, and it took me some convincing maybe to go to that route. Now, I'd had counseling before occasionally because the school situation was very stressful.
Yeah.
And the school had at the time, I don't know if they still do, BSD had a contract with a counseling session.
Okay.
And so I went to a handful of those. It wasn't like a routine therapy every month or every week rather, but maybe 4 or 5 sessions to kind of work through a few things.
Yeah.
And I think more employers are doing that.
Yeah. They're able to be vocal about it now.
I know like police departments do that. I was talking to Billy Cordell about that. And see, police departments didn't do that 30 years ago.
They need to.
But boy, they do, and they recognize that now.
Yep.
So there is more acceptance and less stigma.
Absolutely.
Which I think is a good thing. But if you had a speaker there who says, okay, this is for the 60-year-old plus coots, like Mr. Allard here, and we need to get his mind right. Help people recognize.
Right. No, I really love that idea. I do, because I'm I'm very close with my family, and they're, all older than me. And so that would be great to talk about with all of my friends that are older. And I think that's really smart.
Well, and it wasn't like I was neglected at home. I grew up in a home very similar to yours, Christian church attending family that took care of everything I ever needed and a lot of things I wanted. And so I didn't have a traumatic home life at all. But, navigating through puberty and whatnot leaves a few scars. But still, just the stresses of life, I think, are more acute today than they were maybe 50 years ago. Now, somebody that lived through 50 years ago may dispute that.
Right.
But I think there's a lot more things out there that can affect your mental health than back in 1979 when I was in high school.
Well, and we can all agree that since COVID happened, there's a lot of discomfort in the world. There's a lot of things that we don't agree on, but what we can agree on is that life is really hard and the world is a scary place. And so we can kind of come together on this and agree that we all have struggles. No one is getting out of this life, completely harm-free these days, because life is just difficult.
Well, I think social media has added a lot to that because it's more of a constant thing. Now, social media has its benefits. I mean,
absolutely.
You're advertising this program on social media.
Right.
I've used my platform on social media to do my little neighborhood thing. So there's some positives, and but it's for some people it can cause a great deal of anxiety.
Right.
That's another topic you might want to talk about. Social media and mental health.
Absolutely. I have thought about that a lot.
Well, maybe next year, right?
Yeah, exactly. So more reasons to do it again.
Yes. Well, we're getting close to the end. I got class this afternoon. It's Mondays.
Bummer.
Yeah, I know. Oh, well, they're nice people. No, I got a good class at Hill on Mondays and Wednesdays. But anyway, tell us how we can sign up for this.
So it's on my website. It's on the Johnson County website. Honestly, it's everywhere that you look. If you just Google the word RISE, mental health, it will come up. But our social media is RISE, the Mental Health Conference. It is on there. We've got an event on Facebook. We've got my website is saranicoleyogatx.com, and the registration is connected to that. We didn't mention that we have free childcare for this event. That registration for the childcare is on the registration for the event. So, yeah.
Does that cost any money?
No.
So it didn't cost you a dime to show up to this thing if you want to attend.
No, if you want to bring your lunch, you really don't have to spend any money. Like, you can show up with your lunch in hand and not spend a penny. Yeah.
Are we going to do this again? I mean, this show again?
We might have to.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
I could talk about this stuff all day long, y'all. I really could.
Okay. Well, we got to do this again after this this seminar has been held, and you can tell me the results of it.
Absolutely. That's a great idea.
October's pretty booked, but how about sometime in early November?
I don't see why not.
That'd be great. You can tell us how successful it was and how, if I'm right, how excited you were. And we're going to do it again, and maybe twice a year.
Yeah.
And,
what could happen from all this? I can't wait to find out.
Well, I honestly expect a lot of good things, because I've had a couple of people in my Sunday school class who said, who heard the last show, and they said, how do you get to do this? Because they wanted either themselves or some family members to be aware of this was going on. So I just think it's going to be very successful.
Yep.
You'll be jam-packed in the parking lot.
It is. It's going to be a big day of positivity and peace and hope and all the good things.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing for this community, and we appreciate your enthusiasm for it and your openness about it. It helps that when you're talking with somebody about mental health, it really helps to have somebody like you who is very comfortable in talking about it.
Vulnerability is key.
Well,
Thank you for giving me the platform for
quite all right.
the ability to spread this positive ripple out there.
Positive waves, man. Okay. And you good, Taylor? How you doing over there?
I'm doing.
You feel uplifted now?
I'm very uplifted.
Okay, here we go. Tomorrow will be me ranting and raving about something. I'm not sure yet. And then Thursday, after that, Juice with Interior Design. Next Monday, week from today, have Gabrina Daniels on again. So it's always a good show. All righty. And we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Bye.